welcoming Astrid Schult. So I'm interested in the inspiration for the story, so let me ask it this way. Which came first, the painting or the screenplay?
Actually, the screenplay. And can you hear me? Okay, sorry. The screenplay came first, and we had the title very first as well. Actually, I was kind of hunting a Nazi in the wintertime. He was in Auschwitz as an accountant, an ex-SS guard, and I had this image in my mind all the time. And so that's why we said Winter Hunt.
Okay, and so where did the painting come from? Did you have a commission for the movie, or is that a painting that you found and just factored into the story?
No, there was a painter who made it extra for us.
Okay, all right.
After my imagination, kind of.
So given that you had worked in documentary up until then, what motivated you to tell this as a narrative feature rather than trying to build a documentary around it?
Well, actually, the problem was I did a two-parted documentary called The Last Chapter, and it is about the Nazi hunters in Germany, in Israel, and in several parts of Europe, people that try to find the last over 90-year-old ex-Nazis who they can put on trial. And there was this one guy that I met after I found him. It was not so easy to find him. And actually, he didn't want to give me an interview. I was talking with him for like 8 hours, and of course the interview would have gotten him into trouble. So I kind of approached the limits of documentary filmmaking at that point, and I couldn't get this person and all that he said not out of my mind, so I wanted to make a fiction film.
Okay, so that really was a sort of prelude to the feature.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm interested in this idea that that Lena is sort of the embodiment of that whole phenomenon, from both sides. So she, is sort of the legacy of what happened in the camps, but then she also is a German girl too. So is that something that you had in mind from the outset?
No, that came later. One thought was all the time, what can be an actual proof? Because the discussion in these trials have always been like, since the Auschwitz trials in Frankfurt in the 60s, how can you make a person responsible? Like, do you need a proof for this individual, what this individual has done in Auschwitz, or is it enough that they have been part of the machine? So we were thinking of what could be the ultimate proof for this person to not have say I haven't been there and stuff like that. I didn't do anything. I was just the cook or whatever.
Right. Where has the film shown so far?
In Germany, in Vienna.
At festivals, though, right? We were saying it hasn't had a theatrical run yet, right?
No.
Okay. And does it seem likely like it's going to have a theatrical run?
Yeah. Hopefully, possibly, but it looks good.
Right, so you'll be able to see this again once that deal is actually signed, right? Great. And I'll sort of pause to see if anybody has a question. Okay, can we get a microphone up there?
Or I can just talk loudly. Thanks, I guess I use the microphone.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Oh. It's going to take longer than that, kid. There are many, many movies that are very expository of the situation in Germany. One is the Schreckliche Mädchen. Yeah, the terrible girl. You, of course, know about that movie, right?
No, I don't.
Yeah, there's a lot of movies. The Island on Bird Street, which is a great movie about the ghettos in Poland. Les Raflés, about what happened in France. And I'd just like to tell you that I really commend you for making this movie, because I think it really exposes something that needs to be exposed to the world about Germany. Ultimately, there were tens of thousands of people that ran the camps, and at the end of the war, and up until now, very few of them actually have been prosecuted. And that's one of the questions I have about Germany, is that why did Germany wait so long? You know, they had the trials in '64 where they tried people like Oswald Kaduch, who was the guy who was very proficient at killing babies at Auschwitz. But there were so many people that never got this. And I'll give an example. They never got that. So really the only winners of the Cold War were Nazi criminals. You know. But I really like the film. I think you are to be commended. It's very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your remark. Fritz Bauer was, if you probably you have heard of him or know him. Yeah, he was the one who had who said every little part of the machinery in Auschwitz is should be held responsible, and they all have been part of that machinery. But the judicial system in Germany consisted of a lot of judges and lawyers who have all been part of that killing machinery. They helped it, like they helped building it. And so I think one problem was you couldn't get rid of all these people because you need to rebuild a state kind of after the war. And the other thing is that they all helped each other. They had like their network actually until the 80s and longer. In the judicial ministry in Bonn was infiltrated by Nazis till the late 80s. So I think a lot of people weren't held responsible, which is really a problem and really sad, but it's a fact.
One more comment. I knew a man.
Well, I'm sorry, sir, we have a limited time, and is there anybody else with another question?
Was that a real life husband and wife? They seem to have the same, the actors, they seem to have the same name.
Yeah, Michael Degen, that's another story. His father was in Dachau, and he and his mother, they hid themselves in Berlin from the Nazis. So he was kind of personally involved with this topic. And his daughter is in the film, is also his daughter in real life. And actually Lena, the young girl, she always said she had one Nazi grandmother and one Jewish grandmother. So she had like, both sides somehow.
Wow. Other questions? Well, let me ask you about the reaction to the film in Germany. What kind of reaction have you gotten when the film shows in Germany?
The press was pretty good, actually. There were some people that would have liked that in the end. Maybe she was just crazy. She should have been just crazy and invented that story, and more like an open end where the spectator can come to an end with his thoughts, like maybe he was it or he wasn't it, but that was not something that I wanted to show. So
Yes, sir. Yes, you in the white shirt.
Was Rossberg I don't need that. Was Rossberg the young girl's family name or the 90-year-old's family name? And if the latter, isn't that a Jewish name? Rossberg.
yeah, Rosberg. That was just a name. but didn't have.
The young girl threw out the name Rosberg, whose last name is Rosberg.
Right, it was the older gentleman who was in the camps.
Yeah.
His name was Rosberg.
And so that's, could he have been Jewish?
Like in real life, yeah, he's a Jew.
But not in the story.
Not in the story, of course. He's the
Right.
SS guy.
The daughter was asked why she didn't shoot him immediately and whether she had any doubts in her mind about his guilt. Why didn't, in the movie, she shoot him immediately? Was she looking for a confession?
Like the granddaughter, right? After at the end.
Initially, when she
Yeah.
comes in.
Oh, when she. Well, actually, I think she obviously she doesn't know how to use a weapon, and she needed somehow this tool to get into the house, but I think she just wants to know something from him. She wants a confession, and that is why she's she thinks that she needs to force him, and otherwise he wouldn't confess. So I don't think it's just about killing him.
Yes.
I mean, she's his granddaughter as well, right? That
Right, I
makes it a
assume
bit
that factored in
complicated.
too, yeah.
My question relates, being that you are making a movie and you've been showing it in Germany, with the rise of anti-Semitism in Germany and the Muslim populations in Germany, what can you do, or what do you think needs to be done to show people in Germany, the young people, what is really happening? I hear they're becoming leftists to a point where they don't care anymore about the Holocaust, and they don't care about these things. What is your feeling about how to get the word out, or how can you continue to show films that you're producing so that we will never again have to witness this rise of anti-Semitism that we had back then?
I think films are one thing, but the most important thing is education. Like when I was in school, I watched a lot of films about Auschwitz, and I didn't understand why we didn't go to Auschwitz with our class, because I went there a couple of years ago, and it's completely different to really understand, to see the dimension of this place. It's different from seeing like footage in a film, but I think it's very necessary to have it in school, like in history classes. Other than that, how can young girls and guys learn about it? Lately, I did a little documentary in a school in Eastern Germany, and I think they were like 12 to 15, and some of them, I showed a trailer of this film, and then they were asking about, this is about Hitler and stuff, but they didn't know a lot about Auschwitz and a lot about the history, and I was a bit shocked actually.
Everyone might be interested to know what else you've been working on since this. So the project, the Last Traces that we were talking about a bit.
Yeah, last year, of course, since I'm so involved with this time, or I have questions myself, what's about my grandfathers and my grandmother, what have they done during that time? Last year I went to search for the graves of my grandfathers. They were German Wehrmacht soldiers and died in Russia and in Belarus. And together with my parents we traveled there and tried to find something like leftovers, and tried to, I wanted to know what could they have done, or what, of course we know that the Wehrmacht was also involved in the atrocities going on in Eastern Europe and in Russia and the Ukraine and Poland, and I wanted to get an idea of what could they have seen, or yeah, I tried to get as close as possible to understand what happened there.
We'll pause for questions again. So do you think fictional filmmaking would become something that you do more of and become more a part of your professional life?
Well, actually, I had a lot of fun with making a fiction film because it's so much different from a documentary. You have like real people, real stories, and it felt very light compared to a documentary. And I had a lot of fun with the team and stuff, so I would like to continue with that too. But right now, I'm also working on 2 documentaries.
Okay. The last question? Yes, ma'am.
I can't stop thinking, if this was an American movie, the guy that played the Nazi would have been killed at the end, and it would have been final for everybody. In the end of this movie, he was able to walk away in the field in resemblance to the painting. What do you want the audience to take away from that, besides the obvious?
What I thought was, Lena is at a point where she realizes at that moment it doesn't change anything if she kills him, and maybe she thinks that, or she feels that she's not like him as well, and yeah. But I think I wanted to be a sad ending, like she's sad about the fact that he is how he is, kind of, instead of just the feeling of revenge.
It seems like this is when the conversation about the painting takes on more meaning for the end of the film too. So I think that's going to determine how you read it. Well, thank you so much for being here and sharing with us.
Thank you for inviting me. It is an honor to be here.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a pleasant night.